I tell you, sometimes you couldn't write this stuff as a script. So, mayors in Western Sydney want the Prime Minister to meet with them to talk about the ISIS brides. He fobs them off with the letter. The Minister responsible 30 minutes on Zoom. No time to go to Western Sydney, but guess where the Prime Minister is tonight? In Sydney, at the GQ Man of the Year Awards. Feel free to get in the taxpayer-funded car and drive a few minutes west. I'm sure the driver knows where it is. Mark Latham is the One Nation leader in New South Wales, and he joins us now to talk about an awful lot of things, including a bunch of parents got in touch with you because a school play was recasting the actual reality of Captain Cook. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, Paul. This is amazing what's happened at Mount Ku-ring-gai Public School. It just shows you how far the indoctrination of little kids has gone. When teachers, they've got hold of a book written by Adam Goodes, of all people, you know, the AFL player who got booed out of the game, wrote a book called Somebody's Land, and they based a play around this book. And the play is complete fiction. Like, it shouldn't be that hard in Year 2 to teach the basics of Australian history. The Captain Cook was here with the discovery of Australia in 1770. He died later that decade. And in 1788, the first fleet came here and had absolutely nothing to do with Captain Cook. They're the bare facts. And you think every single teacher in our education system would know that Australian History 101. But they're teaching, in an attempt to demonise Cook, that Cook was there in 1788, part of the first fleet. He's described as a coloniser. He uses words in the play that he never spoke, where he says, there's nobody living here, I'm taking the land for myself. The kids have got to do a stolen land apology as part of this fiasco. I mean, you know, teachers should be sacked for this. If you're in the school system more interested in indoctrination than education, more interested in fantasy than facts, and you're using these kids as a political punching bag, really, for your own political frustrations, then you shouldn't be teaching at all. You should go do something else.
But even more, but equally concerning is that, you know, I've got a kid in Year 2, all right? The idea that they're not even the political punching bag or the political football, they're a blank slate. And the same authority that the teacher has to say 2 + 2 = 4, A, B, C, D, E, F, when they tell you the first building block introduction to a story or history or the way the world works, that's the worldview that you start to build on for the rest of your life. If that's a fantasy, then no wonder all the lefties want 16-year-olds who've gone through that school system to start voting.
Yeah, well, it's hard to unlearn this stuff. The Year 2 students have been doing it for a fortnight. And as you say, a blank canvas, an empty vessel, it's hard to unlearn that, and they've got it imprinted on their mind. So the taxpayers and the parents, I mean, there's one supreme responsibility for teachers in the New South Wales education system, and that is teach facts. Teach knowledge and facts rather than political indoctrination. If you don't like Captain Cook, well, run for elected office and you make speeches in Parliament about it. Don't go rewriting Australian history, a complete fabrication off a book by Adam Goodes, to indoctrinate these kids for something that's completely untrue and could well affect them for the rest of their lives in a bad and false way.
Well, this is why we love you in the Parliament, the fact that parents know that they've got somebody to send this to and you're able to amplify it. We're now just got to get a scenario where the professional consequences for doing this to kids, again, becomes absolute, that it's not just angry people, that there's some action on the back of this as well. I want to talk power prices as well. The Origin CEO, yet again, telling us, well, what we all know, which is when these things keep going up, the cost of business and manufacturing is going to go through the roof, and manufacturing in and of itself will start to be hollowed out.
And the investment needed in the energy infrastructure will place further upwards pressure on bills between now and 2030, notwithstanding the benefits it will deliver. That $76 billion in investment to deliver the transition that I mentioned earlier needs to be paid for.
Sorry, mate, we heard from the CEO, now we'll hear from you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Frank Calabria's blown the whistle on one of the big debates, because there's always the argument that the renewables are supposed to be the cheapest. But he's saying that we'll keep prices down if we keep coal-fired power in the system longer. So the head of Origin there, who should know these things, he's obviously done his sums, is pointing out the basic truth that if you keep coal-fired power in the system longer, you don't close down the ones he's responsible for, like Eraring in New South Wales, you'll keep prices lower than they would otherwise be. So renewables are very expensive, Paul, mainly for the reason you've got to rebuild the entire electricity grid, including the transmission, all the backup power, the firming capacity. It's incredibly expensive. And of course, someone has to pay, and it's the consumer.
Thank you, great man. Quickly before we go, just one without notice. So Albo is in Sydney, can't meet with the Western Sydney mayors, but he can go to a fashion award. I mean, talk about priorities.
Well, this decision is made, Paul, and unfortunately Fairfield local government area, yet again, is a dumping ground. In this case, the ISIS brides. There can be no 100% national security guarantee on this. So they're going to have to live with the decision because the Prime Minister has made it. They're not going to Marrickville, are they?
No.
And they're not going to the Teal seats, as Michael Kroger was pointing out earlier on. They're not going to the inner city electorates, the Greens, or those type of Labor electorates. No, Fairfield, yet again, is being used as a dumping ground, and they shouldn't cop it.
Bloody oath. That's why look out for Mark Latham on your ballot paper in New South Wales for One Nation. Thank you, great man. Talk to you very soon. Don't forget to follow them on Instagram as well.